Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Daily Debate. And in tonight's show, we're going to be talking about soft power and its effectiveness in delivering the political messages and its impact on getting cultures and societies closer together. And on this topic, we're glad to be joined here live at the studio by Dr. Magda Bagnied, Professor of Mass Communication. Good evening, Dr. Magda, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure always to be on Nile TV.
Our pleasure also. Dr. Magda, we will be continuing our discussion after the coming report.
Sure.
Soft power. According to international testimony, Egypt is one of the best performing countries in the world in the soft power index. Egypt has strengthened its soft power in conjunction with its continuous reform efforts in various fields for 8 years in order to sustain development and consolidate the strength of its political, economic, social and cultural elements. In this regard, the Cabinet's Information and Decision Center issued an infographic report about the soft power in Egypt according to the Brand Finance Foundation's classification. Brand Finance stated that Egypt is one of the best countries in the world in the soft power index. In this regard, Brand Finance assesses soft power based on 7 focuses related to education and science, international relations, trade and business, heritage and culture, media promotion, and communication with abroad, governance and values. Of course, the concept of soft power is used to describe the capability of states to influence or to be influenced by other states without resorting to traditional power tools, which are the military and the economic ones. It's worth mentioning that the Brand Finance Foundation is an institution that works in the field of consulting and evaluating brands for various countries of the world based in London. The strength and influence of Egypt's soft power in the region is integrally related to the strength of the state and its political leadership's awareness of the importance of culture as a mainstay of the national strategy. The foundation and rapid development of the modern Egyptian state allowed it to become a pioneer in the regional and international environment in many fields.
Welcome back, and talking more about soft power and its effectiveness in delivering political messages. Dr. Bagnied, how do you see the impact of soft power not only in delivering political messages but also in promoting the country's resources?
It's very strong because you're not dealing here with the power itself of fighting and so on. It's a power without using the real power in the sense of power, you know, fighting and so on. Besides, it reaches people more easily and penetrates the society, and it builds a name for the country so that people would say, look at India, what it's doing, look at Egypt, what it's doing. So I think it's very important to take into consideration the other power that we have, but not like that of the military, you know, the military power.
Right. What are the different types of soft power in your opinion?
The way I see it would be like our strong culture, our heritage, our music, our sports, our environment. Egypt, you know, you're talking about history here. And in history, you'll find many things. We have culture, tradition, just name it here. And by focusing on this, you can build a good name for the country. You can become #1, and I think so we are reaching that stage of people talking about the power of Egypt, the charm of Egypt, let's call it. So right. This is how I see it.
Right. Well, Dr. Magda, as a professor of media, how do you see the role of media as a soft power in promoting tourism, culture, investment, economy?
Basic. That's a basic thing. You know, you want to talk to people about something. How would you reach them? It's through the media. But you have to do it in the right way. I mean, you have to know whom are you talking to. You have to have a strong message, but a simple one. It's not like didactic, telling them you have to do this, you have to do that. No, it's just by showing simple ideas, just showing to the people. People will grasp the idea. And it's a successful method. Media is very powerful if you use it right.
Right. Well, how can soft power help in building the Egyptian character, which President Sisi has put on his priorities?
I'll tell you, if you take, for instance, sports, and then you have some champions here and there. Nowadays, we have lots in different fields, not only, I mean, if I talk about the football, for instance, if we talk about the image of Salah, Mohamed Salah, that's an image. People, when they talk about Egypt, they remember him, Mo Salah. So he's just giving a name to the country in itself, something which is very positive. Today, you'll find people in boxing, you'll find people in wrestling, in many ways, and even in England, Egyptians, most of them in the squash and in, you know, different games. This is soft power, you know, power in itself, that Egypt is being mentioned here and there all the time, and it builds the name of the country in a very positive way.
Now, soft power can be developed in different areas. It can be developed in education, in tourism, in system values. Now, how can this benefit the country, developing its soft power in different areas?
You have to take the latest which is around the world, the latest technology, introducing something for the youth, not the traditional methods that are being used in schools and in universities. The more that you are becoming more advanced using the technology and so on, technical know-how and artificial intelligence is now being introduced to the rest of the world. Now you will find many of the students, they are like quiz kids, you know. Many people are into that. Give them the time, give them the chance to develop themselves. They will do it. And at the same time, we find many Egyptians are big names. Remember, at one point we did have Dr. Zuhail and others, you know.
Yes.
And even if you talk about the NASA, we have another doctor there in America. Many of them. They go and they study and they have the brain, and this is Egyptian soft power anywhere. Dr. Magda.
Definitely.
Yes, I mean, just think of these people. They build a name for Egypt and you become proud of them, and then mothers would like to see their kids and their children would be like these people. Egyptian people who are very successful. You feel proud about it.
Yes, well, Egypt possesses numerous types of soft power. Among the most important, of course, is the culture, is our monuments, our historical heritage.
Strong, this is very strong. If you talk about even Tutankhamun, you know, for instance, when you have visitors coming in the museum and traveling overseas, and just a look, France was having, lots of showing of these museums about ancient Egyptian. You go to America, even any part of it, not to the main states, but even I was doing my PhD in the US in Missouri. This is in the middle of America, Midwest. And there I found lots of mummies, you know, and all of these things. And people will say, are you from Egypt? It's the idea itself. It's a power that says, yes, I am. You have to be proud of this because you have a strong history, a strong background. Nobody would be like us. I do not want to say other countries to compare, but we did have our people who were genius, not talking about even building the pyramids, because we have lots of things that we can talk about and be proud. The mentality of the ancient Egyptian people, and they reached stages in medicine and in many things, you know. Just name it.
We've held several cultural events recently here in Egypt. How do you assess those events as a soft power in promoting Egypt on the international level?
It does. It does. You know, you're talking about and people are kind of anxious to get to know more about the Egyptian culture and the Egyptian civilization and so on. You're trying to raise these points so that people will learn more. The more that they learn, the more you feel proud about it as an Egyptian. That these festivals or these, even if you have conferences, conferences, another thing, like inviting the youth to Egypt, and the president would stay and talk to them. You feel very proud that the world is here, the future is here, talking about tomorrow.
Yes,
it's
we held several World
Simply
Youth
speaking,
Forums.
yes.
Did you follow the youth forums that
some of them,
here
yes.
in Egypt?
Yes.
Inviting youth from different countries
Beautiful.
around the world here in Egypt. How far does this affect how does it have an impact on the youth?
They will
themselves?
relate to it. You know, when they talk about, okay, here is Egypt and we are invited, we are the youth, we are tomorrow, thinking today of tomorrow. What is more beautiful than having the youth of the world? And even listen to the song of these conferences that were done in Egypt. About how many? 2 or 3 about almost?
Around.
Yes. Look at the picture. All of them from the rest of the world, and all of them gathered, I think so it was in Sharm el-Sheikh at that time. It's beautiful. Why? Because you're trying to unite the youth together, and they can build something together. We rise, you know, and if we separate ourselves, we'll fall. But the idea itself of inviting them, I love this. I love it.
Well, how does it reflect the political leadership's awareness when it comes not only to youth forums, but also to the cultural events that has been held here in Egypt?
No doubt, this is something very strong, but you have to continue in it, and you have to develop. And another thing about soft power, using our, say, the place we go like Sharm el-Sheikh, like Hurghada and so on, these places attract the people. It's enough to say that I'm going to Egypt to spend some time to relax there. You know, the association of the sun there, and if you go even to Luxor and Aswan, these were the old ones. But today we have people that they can go to the beaches, enjoy themselves, and stay in nice hotels and think about Egypt in a very positive way. And then when they speak to the people, they get in touch with the culture, with the environment. So simply speaking, I think this is it's a soft power.
Yeah.
And also it builds the name of Egypt at the same time, in a simple way. So people will say, yes, we'd like to come again.
Right. Well, the Grand Egyptian Museum is one of the major achievements that will be, of course, inaugurated soon here in Egypt. How do you assess?
In August, I think so. Is it in August?
It's not yet announced the time, the exact time, but how do you assess this great event and the inauguration of this great museum as a soft power?
Let me talk about something. I did have a course teaching about, you know, documentation of things that's happening in Egypt. One of them, remember when it was in Tahrir, when they were moving to the new museum, and then you had this, this kind of show. 17 kings were moving from the Tahrir museum, big museum, to the new, and you think that it's like, you know, going back to history, as if you're watching real kings, you know, the chariot and all of these things. Today, to the extent,
a great event, yeah.
Of course. And I did tell my students, okay, this we have to document that and write about it. The beautiful thing is, I sent to most of my friends. Some of them were in the U.S. One of them was, my friend was telling me, her husband refused to come to Egypt. They said, this is a very far place to go from America. And then when he watched, you know, this celebration of the kings and the beautiful event, and he said, you know what, I'd love to go to Egypt and see the new museum. You would build images which is very positive and powerful in the eyes and of the world.
Right, we're going to go to a short break, and we'll be right back to continue our discussion on soft power. Welcome back, and still with my guest, Dr. Magda Bagnied, and still discussing soft power and its effectiveness on social relations and between countries and inside the same country. Dr. Magda, patriotic songs as the one we've just heard.
It's beautiful.
How do you see the impact of this on soft power as a soft power tool?
You know, the rest of the world are using the same ideas. I mean, if you go to America, hey, you know, they're singing for the country itself. But when you think about Egypt, you become so nationalistic. And besides, yani, I'm using Arabic. It's funny, because I was listening to the Egyptian song. What is beautiful about it is that he's making people very enthusiastic and giving motivation to the people. I am the son of Egypt. And I can do this and I can do that. So people would imagine the young ones will imagine themselves building their own country. What is more beautiful than that, you know? Giving optimism, giving hope, and they will like to succeed and become part of this. Music, of course, playing a big role here. And when you take that outside Egypt, for instance, the musicians that go outside Egypt and sing in festivals and build a name for Egypt, that's beautiful. It's a soft power again.
Definitely.
Yes, and also you'll find today the youth, when we're talking about the IT and the technology, they go very quickly. It seems that the Egyptian mind is good at that thing, you know. You have, for instance, I look to my students, they are being very creative when it comes to virtual, you know, reality, and when they are
social
working
media
and social media, and they want to do it, and they do it in the best way. And when they compete with other Arab countries, of course I'm being taking the side of Egypt because I love that. They are very respectful, and it's an honor to have this kind of students. But you have to push them, you have to give them the motivation. And when they are speakers, they are very eloquent as well. So you can see, you can pick up the nice things about the youth and push them a little bit and give them the motivation, and they will be there.
Right. Well, also in addition to patriotic songs, we have the TV and radio. We have the movies, the Egyptian movies, which played a great role throughout history.
You're talking about history here. If you look back to the media in Egypt and the films, we started that very early, even as early as the world started the movies.
Yes.
You know, was it on the 40s, last century? I think so, something like that. And we did have
more than 100 years of cinema here in Egypt.
Yes.
We have more than 100 years.
And you can show these movies outside Egypt, and people would be proud of your production and the people, and it tells the story of a nation. And of course, when you talk about Egypt, it's something that people would salute you for it when it is well done. And all you have to do is just to focus on a good idea to present it to the people. And they excel. For instance, I find my students, when they do stories, for instance, like radio and television, on television stories, you feel happy because they have something new to add. So all you have to do is just to work on it and push them a little bit, give them the motivation, and Egyptians will excel in it. I have big hope.
Right. Well, specifically talking about Egyptian movies and their impact on bringing peoples from Arab nations together, how do you see the impact of this as a soft power?
Let me tell you something. Saudi Arabia, when they had the Joy Festival and something like that, everybody went, is that Saudi Arabia? Is it changing? Is the world changing? There is something happening, you know, in the world. We could never think.
180-degree change.
Yes. We couldn't imagine that this is Saudi Arabia, and for several nights, and even production of the show, it looks like Hollywood. It doesn't look like an Arabs, and the part was in the desert. I think so, it was in Riyadh. And 180 degrees change. This is a software. I mean, I'm sorry, soft power, and people are changing. It's a different image. So I think so we need to work more on the soft power. You know, not really thinking about fighting and this. No, you have very beautiful things in the soft power. Music, culture, you know, many things.
How can the image and reputation of a nation influence its economic and political vitality?
Because people would like to work with you, they would like to see what is happening, what's new in Egypt, and they would like to be encouraged to see you're progressing in something. Why not should we join them? People would like to join the successful people. So it will attract other countries to work with you. Economically speaking, of course, that would be a good chance. If your economic is rising and you're doing lots of things for the country, building your country, you'll find people who would like to join. It goes that way. This is how I think of it. You know, I'm a media person, but you can visualize, you know, the image itself.
Well, Dr. Magda, how do you see the link between soft power and cultural diplomacy?
Well, cultural diplomacy, in this case, you have to get people who can talk well in the cultural side, because you have many things to show to the people and talk about. Culturally, we have a very strong culture. Egypt, for instance, they used to say, when some people come to Egypt to invade Egypt, they become affected with our culture, but we are not affected by their culture. Like, for instance, the French expedition of Napoleon and so on. People become affected with us more than vice versa. You have a very strong culture for several years, and it's not only one. You have Islamic, you have the Coptic, you have the Greek effect, many. It's a country with great history. That's not what I'm saying, that everybody's saying that about our Egypt.
Do you think soft power has a role in squashing rumors?
Could be. Social media. Using your social media, but this is everywhere, not in Egypt. It could be plus or it could be minus, unless you know what is happening. But listen, if you were talking about social media, people who are saying something, lots of rumors are there. Unless you know the source, do not believe what you're saying and watching. If you don't have enough sources, that's why if you present something, tell me what's your source. If you don't have enough sources, don't believe it, because it spreads very quickly and it dies very quickly. If it's not true, it dies immediately.
Right.
So it's just people, some people are using it to become famous, popular, you know, as we see. But this is everywhere.
Well, as a media person, I would like to ask you how do you see the difference and the positive and negative impacts of social media in comparison to the traditional media?
And this is something, and this is something else. The traditional media, you have to have sources, you're talking about this and that, and you have facts with you. But the other one, sometimes you could not verify. It could be a rumor. And the rumor could build or could, you know, just make destruction. Talking about celebrities, for instance, and their lives. This is a trivial thing. I'm not saying underestimating, but if somebody is not that important and he would like people to be attracted to what he's doing or she's doing, they use social media. And then at the very end you find it's a fake story. But they wanted people to have attention to him. So social media, I wouldn't depend that much on it. You use it, but after a while you said, I just spend my time in vain.
Sometimes it represents a danger in circulating some rumors, dangerous rumors.
Mostly, yes. No. Don't believe it. If you have time to go with the social media, then you have to be very careful. It's not real. It's not real thing. And anybody can say anything, anytime, any place. Yeah, and just think about it this way.
Right. We are going to be continuing our discussion after the coming short break. Welcome back, and still talking about soft power and its impact and effectiveness on delivering political messages and getting countries together. Dr. Bagnied, we were talking about tourism also and other sources of soft power. How do you see the impact of tourism in promoting and branding Egypt as a source of soft power?
Now people in Europe, for instance, they try to, when they come to Egypt, they are not coming to the pyramids now. They are going to Sharm el-Sheikh, they're going to Hurghada, they are going to different places that we Egyptians, some of us, did not go to. Why? Because the climate is good, beaches are, and the hotels are good. You're talking about the hotels itself. So they come to spend some night, you know, like a package, some nights, and good food, good shows, good weather, the service is good. All that would raise the level of tourism in Egypt. So when they think of Egypt, it's not only talking about visiting the traditional pyramids and so on. No, they go and stay and relax. And sometimes they never go to Cairo and Luxor. You just focus sitting there. That will be the name for the country. They say, if you like to enjoy yourself, why don't you go to Dahab or to Nuweiba or places like that? So that's a soft power, you know, because you have the capacity and you have the people, and you know how to serve people. You will excel in it by the time goes on. And I remember when my brother comes from abroad, he stays here a little bit, but he said, I'd like to go to Sharm el-Sheikh, or I'd like to go to Ilguna or places like that. You yourself as an Egyptian also, you would go in your vacations. So it's not only like used to be at the old times to Alexandria or Port Said. No, you have different places on the beaches. So that's a soft power. When they're thinking of Egypt, thinking about how to spend a good time, they take the charter plane and come and organizing things. Culture and the weather, and we have many assets in Egypt here that we can, you sell ideas. So conferences, as we talked about earlier in the program here.
All events, actually, not
and
only
events,
conferences,
events,
maybe even singing festivals, the film festivals.
You know what? There is this festivals that they do sometimes in popular areas like Sayyidina al-Hussein, for instance. Not only Egyptians are singing, but they bring Arab singers to come and sing. Then they mix with the people, so they feel that they are part of the culture itself. It's beautiful. I mean, And also at the same time, people have good image. This is what you want. It's the power of being there, you know, in the place itself.
The Cairo International Film Festival is also another very good,
many,
important event.
You know, because you expose your arts to other countries and nations. You take awards. They come here to take awards. So the world is integrated.
Even art exhibitions also is another source of soft power.
Of course, soft power. And also it builds a name for Egypt. Not only historically, but we have other things that we can talk about. For instance, the Library of Alexandrina, the Biblioteca Alexandrina. How many people come to see it? Like, you know, they started with the Greek mythology. And when you visit there and see the history of it, it's a beautiful place. So not only in Europe that you have the culture or the British Museum, but we have here many things that you can come and visit.
How can we use soft power in branding Egypt globally?
Very simple. You know, you have to succeed in building a good package for the people to come, to do the work, welcome to Egypt, things like that. But you have to change all the time and update your information to catch up with the rest of the world. So you can be compatible with the market in price and in the place and these things that people would look to. I think so.
How do you see the future of soft power in Egypt? I mean, how can we further enhance and elaborate?
Let's see what other people are doing and just have an eye on them and say, we can do, if they do it, we can do better than that. You know, I think so. It's competition. Yes, I mean, it's important now. Soft power is important. You know, as we talked about, in the music, in the culture, in the heritage of Egypt, in the history of Egypt, many things. Maybe we have to focus a little bit on education and the technology which is being there, you know. Very few things. And now you have in education, we have a variety of universities now in Egypt. Different countries would come. You have, if you talk about Chinese, Japanese languages and universities, British and German and American, you have lots. Not only focused on Europe and the US. You have many now, yes.
Now, it's not only Egypt using soft power, even the most powerful countries around the world are using soft power. So how would you compare?
We're learning. You know, you can learn from them. For instance, I'll tell you something. During the other festival that we have, the Egyptians, you know, museum, the new museum, what I heard about it is that people watching this event on television live. Remember, many television stations around the world did have a, you know, filming that. They said it looks like a Hollywood production, not an Egyptian production. It means that they were working in real time to present the best that they can. You're even competing in the stories that you're presenting, in the show that you're presenting, and you're presenting the best thing that you can about the pharaohs, and you think that they are something like the event, bring them live again and, you know, in front of us on camera. So it's a power. Definitely it's a power.
Well, soft power is not to be taken alone. I mean, it has to be used in conjunction with hard power, both together, side by side.
With what?
Hard power.
It depends. How are you using it? But by itself, could it stand alone? Yes, you can use the soft power. It's easier, it's safer, and it's the future. You sell your ideas, and it's a power by itself. Make you popular. People would like to come more. I think so. It's this is the future. Yes.
What are the challenges facing soft power promotion and development in Egypt?
You have just to catch up with the latest, to see what other people are doing, and then you can add more from your own culture and from your own ideas. What is it that you would like to? You'll focus on something and work on it. So, and of course, this is much better than using hard power.
Right. Well, talking back about social media and the traditional media,
yes.
How do you see the challenges facing the traditional media? As a media professor, of course, I'm asking you this question.
Well, I'll tell you what. People thought that by introducing technology, that the radio would die. No, It did not. It will still be there, but in a different format. For instance, people can listen to the radio in the internet. It's not dying. Newspaper and reading, it's not going to die. You can use that again in technology and presenting the text to you, and you can read. So there is a development in it. This is the good thing about it. It does not die, but it will continue in a different format. And all you have to do is to learn more about the future. This is the future. You're talking about the future. So media, if you talk about the mass media, now we have visual communication on not radio and television, but now you have visual, and you have people who are specialized in studying how to present, for instance, to do a film which is supernatural and things like that. People would love it, and this is tomorrow. You're bringing it tomorrow today, but you're working on it. So the sky is the limit in this case. Yes.
But what are the main challenges now facing the traditional media?
You mean will it die?
Yeah.
You think? No, I don't think.
I'm talking about the traditional media in terms of TV, radio, and the
you will have the
newspapers
people
and
to
magazines
continue
also.
watching.
We can see that magazines are fading away. I mean, newspapers also.
Yes. You know,
Nobody reads
when they were
newspapers
introducing the Facebook and the internet, people said that the newspaper people no more will bring the newspaper to read, because many people, the older generation, like to read the news from a newspaper. And when I heard that at the very beginning, when they talk about the internet, I couldn't believe that. I said, we were not going to bring the newspaper in the morning and read it. They said, no, because it will be in another format. And now you have it, you just use your mobile, and you can find all the news. It's at your fingertip, you can use it. It develops, but it doesn't die. It develops another shape. It takes another further progress. But it does not die. It's still there, but not like the traditional way. And people are changing and learning. Now you can find the grandmother using an internet and so on. You know, changes.
All of them.
Yes, yes. And games, not only
playing games.
Oh yes, they're playing. They found at the very beginning when the internet was introduced, a lady in Sri Lanka, she was 90 years, and she started to learn to use the internet. See. Nothing is impossible after all with the technology.
But still there are the positive and negative aspects of both.
Of course. If you use it in the wrong way, spreading the wrong ideas, focusing on the, as I said, something which is not positive. I can present series which is not positive, and the fact that media would spread the idea, this is very dangerous in this case. You studied mass communication, I remember. And when you repeat an idea which is not good, people will start to think about it. The repetition itself makes it solid in people's mind. That's why when you present a series or something, if it is not that good, it can affect the society negatively. That's why people criticize. We have to build motto for people, future, you know, hope. But if you give them depression, you can do that, definitely.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Magda Bagnied, Professor of Media and Communication. Always a pleasure having you.
Thank you. I mean, I hope that we covered the main points about the power, soft power, and we said it in a simple way. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, dear. And dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of the Daily Debate. Many thanks for watching. This is me, Ramzi, signing off.